Did you know that if you ask an AI for life advice in English, you'll actually get an answer from a completely different personality than if you ask that exact same question in Arabic? Hey everyone, welcome back. In this explainer, we're taking complex research and breaking it down into plain English.
So does AI actually give different advice depending on the language you use? It's absolutely crucial for us to figure this out, because AI isn't quite as neutral or clear-cut as we might think. Let's dive right into the data and see exactly how the machine's behavior shifts.
This entire explainer is based on a really fascinating paper called Claude's Values Across Models and Languages. It was put together by Matt Kearney and his colleagues at Anthropic in 2026. Now, I want to establish a very important ground rule right out of the gate. All the findings we're going over today are strictly accurate at the time of the study. The main data collection happened in October 2025. We can't definitively project these exact categorical results onto today because algorithms are constantly updating. But understanding the underlying principle of how this works, that's going to give you a massive edge in your everyday work.
Section 1. How to measure a neural network's values.
This brings up a pretty logical question. How do you even measure the character of a computer program? Well, researchers looked at hundreds of thousands of anonymous chats with Claude, and they found over 3,300 distinct values being expressed in real conversations, everything from politeness to caution. And obviously, trying to analyze every single one of those directly, you just drown in the data.
So here's what they did instead. They used a technique called dimensionality reduction, which is just a fancy way of saying they grouped those thousands of traits into a few main scales. Think of it like the sliders on an audio equalizer, or maybe those character creation sliders in a video game where you slide from good to evil. Each value axis is basically just a line stretching between two completely opposite behaviors. By moving that slider, you actively change the AI's personality.
Section 2. The 4 scales of AI behavior. Okay, so what are these main sliders? There are 4 of them, and together they capture about 15% of all the variation in Claude's behavior. Axis number 1 goes from deference, where the AI basically just agrees with you, all the way over to caution, where it's actively warning you about risks. The second slider moves from emotional warmth over to dry rigor and precision. Axis 3 ranges from depth of reasoning over to brevity, where it just does exactly what you asked, no extra fluff. And the fourth goes from candor, being open about its limitations, over to execution, where it's just laser-focused on getting the result. These are the hidden baseline settings that quietly shape literally every single response you get.
Section 3. Different versions mean different answers.
Now we're getting to the really good stuff. The specific version of the AI you choose before you even start typing that physically moves those equalizer sliders around. Take Sonnet 4.6 for example. It acts like a warm, super encouraging friend. It pushes those sliders right over toward emotional warmth and deference. If you share an idea with it, it's going to praise you and back you up. On the flip side, Opus 4.7 acts way more like a strict critic. It prioritizes caution, rigor, and digging deep into potential risks. So simply choosing your model is literally choosing the personality of your digital conversational partner.
Section 4. Language changes the AI's character. And here is the absolute most fascinating discovery. You don't even need to switch the model version to change the AI's personality settings. Just changing the language you're speaking does it automatically. If you write your prompt in English or Russian, the neural network becomes highly rigorous, precise, and cautious. It's going to fact-check you and point out logical flaws. But if you ask that exact same question in Arabic or Hindi, the AI suddenly becomes much warmer, way more polite, and leans heavily into emotional support. The language you use literally rewrites how the machine views the world.
To really see how this plays out, let's look at a concrete example from the study. Imagine 2 people asking the AI to review the exact same business plan. One person drops their prompt in Hindi, and the other person does it in Russian. The person asking in Russian is going to get a very dry, strict, highly critical breakdown pointing out every single weak spot and risk. But the person asking in Hindi, they get warm support and encouraging review. 2 people walking away with completely different impressions of the exact same business plan, purely because of the language they typed in.
Section 5. The main practical takeaway.
So we've seen how these AI values actually work under the hood, and the crucial takeaway here is this. AI is not some perfectly objective tool that just hands down the absolute truth. Its personality is fluid. The way it behaves heavily depends on the context, specifically which version of the model you're using and what language you're speaking. Different languages carry completely different cultural norms in their training data, and the neural network simply reflects that.
Context is everything. So here's your practical takeaway for today.
Choose your tools intentionally, based on the specific type of feedback you actually need. If you need a strict audit of your work, or you're hunting for errors and want critical analysis, go with an analytical model and prompt it in Russian or English. But if you're looking for creative support, maybe you want to brainstorm in a comfortable environment, or you just need some motivation, use a model that leans toward warmth and consider your language choice. Guide the language and the model settings so they actually work for you, not against you. Apply this approach, and your interactions with AI are going to become so much more precise and effective. And that wraps up our explainer for today.